All right. Because I can't get an answer to that question easily from you. This is shocking if true, right?
You mean shocking if it's true that she killed a baby, or shocking that all this new evidence indicates not only that she may not have done it, but there may not have been a murder?
Well, the latter, right? So first, to the manipulation of X-rays. It seems one of the many things we just heard that, if nothing else, could certainly be proven in a court of law happened.
Right now, the state denies it, and yet they have not presented any kind of evidence to really contradict the evidence that the defense shows that not only, I mean, manipulation, it looked like it may have been photoshopped. We know for a fact that the defense was given a smaller file than it should have been. On the coroner's computer, it was in a TIFF file, which is a big file. What the defense was given was a JPEG, which I think most people are used to. It's a smaller file with, less data, and so it's not as clear. The big question, was that intentional? Well, the defense can show that it may have been photoshopped before it was put in a JPEG. That would make it look like it's intentional. The state says, of course, it didn't happen. But I find just as compelling, and I have to tell you, I kind of failed as a reporter on this. When I first started on this story, the most critical witness was this doctor who was the rebuttal witness, right. Dr. Manny Montez. And I thought reading it that he might have been exaggerating because he went beyond any of the other medical witnesses that I spoke to or read about. But then this summer, a new witness who I found credible, of course the state, again, says, no, he's not credible, said that this doctor didn't even do what he said he did. It never occurred to me as a reporter that this doctor would take the stand, say he examined this baby's body if he didn't. And there is some evidence that that doctor may not have been truthful with the jury. I'm sorry.
Then potentially photoshopped X-rays, which obviously were
the state says it didn't do,
which were used to convict, lying under oath, perjury by a key witness here.
The state says no.
Why would the state be going to what would appear, if those two things, though, are true, great lengths? Why would they go to such great lengths?
Well, what's so important about the X-rays is, if really a skull fracture, when you're talking about an injury on a head injury on a child, a skull fracture is probably the best evidence of child abuse or abusive head trauma. Without that, since that child had no other injuries anywhere else, no cuts, no real bruising, no fractures anywhere else, that would indicate she didn't do what she said she did. And many medical experts say without a skull fracture, it's very difficult to say this was a deliberate act at all, that there may not have been a murder. Can you imagine this?
Well,
and she was convicted.
And you made a point, perhaps. It's also a question of language. Is it manipulation or photoshopping? People hear those words and experience them differently. I also wonder this, a coerced confession. It seems as though, short of watching the entire tape of that interrogation, where she says 79 times, I didn't do it, how credible is her explanation that it was coerced?
Now, I know this is, I have to say, you have to watch our show. And I'll tell you why. Good. Because we really analyze it in our show, and everyone who sees that analysis goes, oh my God. This is called the Reed technique, which they used on her, and there are 3 tests that they're supposed to use to try to trick someone, and then if that person passes those tests, they're supposed to say, oh, maybe that person's innocent. When you see our hour, she passed all 3, and they did not take a look and say, oh my God, maybe we have the wrong person. I realize it is very difficult, and I have a hard time understanding why somebody might confess something they didn't do. She does have a low IQ, a low verbal IQ. As she says to me, she really believed that unless she told them that story, she was never getting out of there. She was in there for 9 hours. She was 22 years of age. She wasn't allowed, she wasn't, they asked if she wanted any food. She didn't take any food, so she was in there for 9 hours.
Legal representation, no legal representation.
No legal rep. And she said, yeah, I want to help you out. She went and thought she was helping them out. I'm not advocating for it. I'm not saying that. I've worked on this story for 3 years. I've worked 3 hours, 3 years. And I have gone from, I don't know really what happened, to, oh my gosh, look at all this evidence that supports either her innocence or the fact that there's no murder at all.
The preponderance of
well,
this
you know,
way. Yeah, okay,
yeah,
again, I
not
know.
a legal preponderance, but
exactly.
it is becoming very, very overwhelming.
Quickly, the family, have they weighed in?
No, they will not talk. They never have spoken to the public. No, and you can imagine this is very difficult on the family. They lost a child, and now they have to keep hearing about it.
To the original point, as horrific a thing as one can certainly consider by any metric. Erin Moriarty, thanks.
Thanks as always, Josh.
Push right up to the fence.
Yes.
I can just never quite get over. But you can. Of course, you're going to have to wait for the full report. The Fight for Melissa, it's tomorrow night on 48 Hours. That is 10, 9 Central, only on, say it with me, CBS.